Then can we then move to the 2025 deployments? Now, I want to just probe out of interest. What's the level of interaction that you have with COBIS?
The level of interaction that I have with COBIS is almost the same level of interaction that I have with all of the contracted security companies. It's official, it's informed by the relationship that is governed by the SLA and contractual terms and conditions, TMPD 20.
Mr. Malachi, please try to speak up. I appreciate that it's late in the afternoon, but I could barely hear your last answer.
Okay. I was saying, Commissioner, thank you. I was saying the level of interaction with COBIS, it's the same level of interaction that I've got with other service providers who are part of the 22 entities.
Thank you. And so do you regularly have engagements with them via telephone?
I wouldn't be...
To be fair with you, the background is that they were able to get hold of you quite easily.
Yes, all the contractors, when they get, when they need to get hold of me, they get hold of me. I don't think there is any special relationship. I don't have any special relationship with COBIS in particular compared to others. The relationship is...
And roundabout, they would have been appointed in 2021, 2022, roundabout. You would have had several interactions with COBIS.
I had several interactions with COBIS, including the rest of the 2020, more especially around about that time, because that was when the contract was starting, that was when the deployment was kicking off, and immediately after it kicked off, that was when I interacted with them for operational reasons. By the way, as the director responsible for the function, I meet with the service providers regularly, right? Even though sometimes it doesn't happen, but in terms of the service level agreement, I'm to meet with them almost every month, and I hope the Commissioner understands my response.
So you're saying and essentially that is what is called contract management. So you're saying that you meet with the service providers monthly. Is that what you're saying?
In terms of the service level agreement?
No, I'm saying factually.
Factually, yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And is that detailed somewhere?
In the service level agreement.
No, I'm saying report or minutes of some sort There's no minutes or there are minutes?
Company directors' minutes are there, right? They are kept in the office. And yes, there should be evidence to that effect. I must bring it to the attention of the Commissioner that even though the service level agreement says, as director responsible for the function, I should, but sometimes such meetings take place with me not being there as a result of engagements here.
And between November 2024 and March 2025, how many meetings did we have with Coopers?
I wouldn't be sure of the exact number of meetings, but there is a record to the effect that we had meetings whilst discussing this issue of ad hoc services. And there was also a time when we met for me to hand over termination letters to Gubis and the other two companies.
No, that would have been in June 2025. I'm saying prior to that, January, February, March, December, did you have any meetings with Gubis or Mr. Madlanga?
Not to my knowledge, not to my remembrance.
Okay, thank you. I think the commissioners have taken you through the irregularities of the pages of the notices for deployment. Yes, and I don't want to belabor the point. But just to summarize, I think it is established that let's just call them the 2024 deployments were irregular, and the 2025 January deployments, which we have in file, were equally irregular. Can you accept that? That's what we have established. And at the time, you were responsible for this, for the APSS, albeit there's other people involved, but you were at a senior level.
Yes, Commissioner.
And then if we go to page 238 of the second file, file 2. Apologies. Can we go to, let's start at 418. That's the end of the file. It's just one question that we're dealing with, and then are you there?
Yes, I am there, Commissioner.
Would you recall this exchange between yourself and Velino Andule? Essentially, just to refresh your mind, he's complaining about unlawful happenings, in particular at page 414. He talks about irregularities. At the second last paragraph or heading, he says 13 requisitions have been created by yourselves to the tune of 8 million without invoices, and yet you expect me to blindly release these requisitions. only you can provide a better explanation to your supervisor and the chief of police on those, and I will be given a go-ahead to release as the cost center owner upon clarity. But do you know anything about this? Do you recall what gave rise to this?
Maybe just he answers, Advocate Skakani, identify the email, the date of the email, who's the addressee, who is it addressed to, then go to the specific paragraphs.
Apologies. The email starts at 413. It's from Velin Wandule, directed to yourself.
Yes, sir.
It copies Umashi Dlamini, amongst others, including Commissioner Boles and the CFO and the Chief of Police. You see that. And the subject says, APSS, dash, open bracket, none, close bracket, payment of service providers.
Yes, I see it.
Yeah, so I just am interested in your recollection of this and what he stated about these requisitions that were created without invoices.
I do not recall. I do not recall myself creating requisitions without invoices. I do not recall that, Commissioner.
Okay. Would you be able to retrieve if you responded to this email? Do you know if you responded? Do you recall whether you responded to this email? Because it's a serious accusation.
I remember exchanging emails with Velin Wandule, but as to this specific issue, I'm not sure if this specific email forms part of the exchanges that we had. But yes, I should be able to go into the system and then revisit communications that I personally made with Director Nandule and confirm if it relates to this, and then, yes, see what were my response to these allegations.
Thank you. And I think to be fair to you, we will give you that opportunity to do that, amongst other things, to retrieve your emails that would either disprove or confirm what you've been stating this afternoon. So I won't take the point further on this for now. We'll just park it.
Okay.
Can I just ask Mr. Malachi, this payment issue, this payment issue here that is in these emails, is this the one that we were discussing earlier when you say you were called by Gubis and informed that they were not getting paid? Is it the same issue?
Commissioner, I am not sure if it is the same issue because there were other invoices, there were other ad hoc services invoices,
Okay.
which are different from this.
Okay,
Yes,
okay, that's fine. Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back to page 238. Apologies. Again, as I said earlier, I won't belabor the point, but what we see is this is an email. I think Commissioner Kumalo had taken me through to this email. This is an email from Commissioner Umashi Dlamini, dated 12 March 2025, and it's addressed to Rivers Peace, copying, amongst others, the Chief of Police, Commissioner Boles, and yourself.
Yes.
And he raises a point in the email that there's overspending that is linked to ad hoc services and ad hoc duties. And then he's requesting that funds be made available for ad hoc duties. You see, at the end of the email.
Okay.
He's saying further that you explore the possibility of engaging the requesting sister department, which is, I think, I don't know, but I think you had spoken earlier about water and sanitation, and to persuade them, and he'll have to answer that, persuade them to engage the CFO to approve or make funds available for ad hoc duties. That upon approval and availability of the said funds, the necessary journal be made accordingly so that our budget is not overburdened. Correct? Now, in your management of these, because your office would be the one that manages these services, correct?
Correct.
As we went through. Now, did you share his sentiment that the ad hoc services were increasingly out of budget?
I did, yes.
Okay. And you will see that attached to that email, you would have known, is at 239, item 6. And basically, I think it's just a list of the sites and the invoice amounts that were owed, so to speak, that had been allocated as at that time.
Yes.
And can you confirm that that's the attachment that you are aware of?
Yes, that's
Okay. And you see that in this attachment, we have essentially 3 entities that invoices are being pushed for. Because
Yes.
this email does not talk of the 22,
Yeah.
it is specifically 3 entities.
Yes.
Now, there is Triotic Mukhalakati, but I want to concentrate on Kubis.
Okay.
Kubis is allocated sites of a total of 37.
I can see. Yeah.
Correct. Now, can you explain, and in a normal world, it would have been that you would have gotten an email, this according to the process you were detailing. You would get an email from a department, I would imagine these are all from water and sanitation, that would be requesting these services, and you assess them, and you see that there is indeed a need for these services in a normal system process, correct?
Yes.
And then you would then, let me say your team,
Yes.
but ultimately you will sign them off
Yes.
ordinarily.
Okay.
You will then say, I'm appointing, I'm signing these notices of deployment to these people so that they can provide security services.
No, I wouldn't do that.
No, I'm saying we're talking on at a just general level, normally. That would be the case.
Of signing out this number of sites to one company.
I'm saying the process. Earlier on, you talked about
Yes.
there would be a request for services.
Okay.
It would come via email to you. You make an assessment
Okay.
of the need.
Yes.
Then you issue a notice for deployment, correct? So I'm saying in relation to these sites, generally, in a perfect world, that would have been the process followed,
That would have been the process followed.
correct?
And what I want to say going forward is, given the set process, right, I wouldn't allocate such a number of sites to one company. I wouldn't, because that in itself would create a challenge, right? Not only for me, but for the city. It would even create a challenge with other contracted service providers once they realize that Gubis is allocated 37 sites at a go and some are not even allocated one. Hence, I'm saying I wouldn't allocate such a large number to one security company.
Director Malachi, this document that we are looking at on page 239, remember Advocate Sikakani showed you that it is an annexure to this email on 238.
Yes,
Do you
yes,
see that it's an attachment, sorry?
yes, yes.
And then in that email, they say 30 additional sites were added in January, and then 6 were added in February.
Yes.
Now, if you go to this document on page 239, it talks to ad hocs only for the month of January, because if you look at the top of the page on your left, the third line, it says January security ad hoc. Do you see that?
Yes, I see, I see.
And this is January only. Now look at the cost on page 240. So you're looking at easily 17 million rands, because it is that 14 for Gubis and then the 3 million for the other companies. Do you see that?
I see.
Now, there should have been no difficulty with you identifying which are these additional 36 sites, because you have them in this attachment already. So when you were instructed to stop them the following day, all you needed to do was to go to this document and say, which are those additional 36 sites? I've been instructed to stop them tomorrow in order to save the city at least 14 million rands a month. And nothing stopped you from doing that. So your answer that some of them were previously authorized by customer departments, it does not help you, because these ones are the additional ones which are the subject matter of this email. And it is on the same day that both the Chief of Police and the Deputy Reverse Peace instruct that they be cancelled. Do you see that?
I do. I do.
So you didn't have to go out and conduct an investigation. You have that list attached to the email. It was not difficult to say, looking at this report, which are the additional sites that were added in January? Because you get the months there, it tells you, for example, Klebgat, you know it's October 2024, item 1 on page 239. So you don't have to. And then you look at Refilwe, and then you've got the item there. And then the other ones that are added without dates. Just looking at this report, it should have been very easy for you to identify which additional sites were added in January and February and to cancel them the following day. Your explanation that others were previously allocated correctly simply does not hold water.
Commissioner, the instruction was saying all ad hocs, right? And what came to my mind was, this was not the only ad hocs that I was instructed to cancel.
But I'm asking you about these ones. Why did you not cancel these ones? Because with these ones, you can't say they were previously allocated correctly. The email tells you that there are additionals from January and February. And your chief of police, Chief Faro, says, there's no budget for this, there's no money. And this is 17 million every month.
Commissioner, I agree. Like I previously said, that it has been an oversight on my part, but Commissioner, please allow me to go and revisit this communication, because here we are dealing with one-sided side of the story. And as to whether I responded to this instruction, how I responded, the commission is kept in the dark. I'm not implying that somebody might have done it to hide information, but I'm saying, as far as this is concerned, can the commissioner allow me to go and check as to what were my reasons for not carrying out the instruction immediately, if any? If it happens that I did not respond to this email positively or negatively, you see, that would then mean there was this oversight, or the commissioner said negligence on my part. But can the commissioner allow me time to go and check these specific emails in particular? Because I know with this one, the previous one, right, there were exchange of information. But as to why what I responded, how I responded to, is not part of this email, I wouldn't know. But I'm not suggesting that somebody has played
Thanks, Ashraf.
it naughty to what you call me.
In the Western Cape, and European countries want Lebanon included in the ceasefire with Iran. Good afternoon. ANC Member of Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police, Mokgodu Mwela, says the country's security forces should be given space and time to do their work effectively. He says this includes the Cape Flats, where gang violence and killings have continued unabated in the past weekend, despite the deployment of the SANDF. The army is in its second week of deployment on the Cape Flats. However, shootings have been continued. People killed and 5 injured this past weekend. Mwela says security forces should be given more time to make an impact.
Deployments of this nature requires time to tackle full effect. Intelligence gathering, joint operations, community trust building, and sustained pressure on criminal networks all take coordination and persistence. Initial spikes or continued incidents do not necessarily mean the strategy is failing. They can sometimes reflect heightened activity as criminals are flushed out or disrupted. This is not an indication that nothing will change.
EFF leader Julius Malema says the state is seeking a 15-year jail term in his firearm discharge case. Malema is expected back in the East London Magistrates Court next week for sentencing. Magistrate Toinette Olivier found Malema guilty of unlawfully discharging a firearm during the EFF's 5th anniversary rally at the Sisa Tukashe Stadium in Mdantsane in 2018. He was convicted in October last year on charges that also included unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, as well as reckless endangerment. Malema addressed the media earlier this afternoon in Johannesburg.
We've already said we will appeal the judgment. The state has already put in heads of argument. They are calling for direct imprisonment of 15 years. So you can see that someone is doing everything in its power to get me into jail. So I have no problem with that. It's legal battles that will fight. Here in South Africa, you don't use the courts to fight political battles. We are going there ready and knowing what the other side wants us. They are coming for a kill.
The Madlanga Commission has heard how Triotic Protection Services was one of the companies outsourced for guarding services in the city of Tshwane. This has been confirmed by suspended Director of Asset Protection Services in the Tshwane Metro Police Department, Chukuru Malachi. The company is linked to Tshwane ANC Regional Chairperson Eugene Modise. The contract was awarded to Triotic Protection Services when Modise was still ANC Secretary in the Tshwane region. Malachi told Evidence Leader Mpilos Kakane that he did not know that the company was linked to Modise, who was at the time the sole director and shareholder.
Are you aware that that company is linked to Mr. Eugene Modise?
Yes.
At the time?
At that time, I was not aware. I became aware as we went on, as we went along, that it is linked to Mr. Eugene Modise. You're right.
Deputy President Paul Mashatile says Gauteng remains the premier destination for investors seeking both high returns and economic resilience. Speaking at the Gauteng Investment Conference 2026 in Johannesburg today, Mashatile emphasized that the province is ready to turn multi-billion rand pledges into tangible projects. The Gauteng provincial government is looking to build on the momentum of last year's inaugural summit, which secured over 300 billion rand in commitments.
Investment here is not a risky endeavor. It is a collaborative one where each rand invested multiply opportunity, strengthen communities, and build secure futures.
European countries have said Lebanon must be part, or rather included, in the ceasefire with Iran. This after the Israeli military carried out more strikes on Hezbollah facilities overnight. Lebanon's health ministry says more than 200 people were killed in yesterday's strikes. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif yesterday announced the 2-week ceasefire agreement between the United States and Iran, saying that the agreement extended to Lebanon and other affected regions. Israel and the US have, however, denied this, calling it a misunderstanding. The BBC's Hugo Bashega has the story.
The government announced that today would be a public holiday to mourn those who were killed. Rescue efforts continue for people believed to be under the rubble of collapsed buildings. The Israeli military said it had attacked dozens of Hezbollah targets. Busy, densely populated residential neighborhoods were hit, and Israel knew that this would inevitably lead to a high number of casualties. The attacks may give Israel some military gain, but this is likely to be limited.
For SFM News, I'm Jolani Tulo Webe.
In sports this hour, SA Cup returns with Boerland Griquas showdown. Zwane backs Amazulu bench strength amid Simodlada exit, and Vasharot stuns Musetti to reach Monte Carlo third round. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. We start in Joburg with a crash on the N3 South before Linksfield Road. Traffic very heavy coming down from Limbro Park from Marlborough Drive, down passing Alex and into Edenvale. Very slow. The other crash that we had from this morning, or from overnight last night, the N3 North through Gilulis onto the R24 East. That scene has been cleared. All the lanes have only just actually been reopened. N1 Allendale up to New Road, heading slowly through the Midrand area this afternoon. Across into Durban, always worth checking Keyridge Cliffdale. At this stage, that section is clear, whether you're Durban-bound or Pietermaritzburg bound. There is a breakdown between Ashburton and the Market Road, so the N3 heading up into Pietermaritzburg looking quite slow. Cape Town, reasonably heavy on your way out of town using the M1. You'll sit in traffic as far as Plattercliff Hill today. And a lot of pressure on the South Peninsula, a broken down truck on Okarpsevek near the Silvermine Nature Reserve. And then Main Road at Clovelly, whether you're heading south from Corker Bay or north from Fishhook. Again, heavy both ways. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
I'm sure you are doing what I'm doing, which is following with great interest the pronouncements of Chukuru Malachi at the Madlanga Commission. You can add your comments, whatever it is, about today's proceedings at the Madlanga Commission, about anything else, about history's revision in South African schools, about the DA's Congress coming up, or the EFF's pronouncements, as per Julius Malema. All of that, we'll save it, we'll bank it, 0614 104 107 to do just that. So we won't take live calls now, but a reminder, this is the National Pulse. You, by listening in, are connected, fingers on the pulse, to the entire nation.
Allegations and my response to the caller was, thanks very much for highlighting that. But
I don't want to do this to you, but you are going to the period after your suspension. I'm more interested in the period before your suspension.
Okay.
The reason given to you for the suspension was that the CT or TMPD believed that you had committed misconduct.
Yes.
And that had been investigated, at least the preliminary investigation was by Commissioner Spies up to June, because you were invited to give reasons why you should not be suspended in June, and then you were suspended in July, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And those reasons related to your failure to manage these ad hoc deployments, correct?
Not correct.
So what were you suspended for? What's the reason that was given for your suspension?
There are two reasons. I'm talking to the charges. I failed to declare directorships. To declare all directorships of my companies. Number two, I failed to penalize service providers who, whilst they are deployed, had activities happening that which led to the municipality losing the word call. I'm facing these two charges. There is no charge of me having failed to comply with any instruction.
Director Malachi, I did not ask you about the charge sheet.
Okay.
I asked you about the suspension letter.
Okay.
And in the interest of time, because I see that you're struggling with some of these questions, when you do prepare supplementary statement, please produce that suspension letter, and the letter that preceded it, and your response to that letter.
Thank you.
Because those are the documents I'm interested in, not the charge sheet.
Oh, okay, no, fine.
Thank you. So please make a note of that, but the evidence leaders will assist you.
Okay.
All right.
How much longer do you think we will be, Mrs. Kakan?
Can I try and ask for 10 minutes maximum?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, maximum. Some of these points have been canvassed. What I think we've accepted, and I think in relation to what you've spoken about as one of the charges, was that obviously with your management, what has happened as a matter of fact is that a lot of money has been paid which is irregular, and that's where, and it benefited some service providers within there, and amongst them it's Kubis. In these, you said in your statement, just to be pointed, paragraph 27 of your statement, and perhaps you can assist me if I'm interpreting it wrongly. You say, I'm unaware that Kubis 85 Solutions Pty Limited received many allocations for the provision of ad hoc security services. Now, if you compare that to the attachment, would you still maintain that statement?
No, I wouldn't maintain, but I would rephrase the statement to say, before I received that complaint, I was not aware. But now that I've seen this, and immediately after, when we started engaging about their complaint, it came to light that they, right, I would not, what to call this?
Okay, no, fair enough. I was just raising it so that we rephrase it accurately about what transpired. Now, in all this correspondence in email, you say also that your immediate superior, am I correct to say it was Sean Bordes?
Yes, before Rivers Peace.
Before Rivers Peace.
Yes.
And generally, what was his role? Was he also aware of these ad hoc services, or did you inform him? That's in relation, I think let's stick to the 2024 ad hoc services, the deployments for 2024. What was his level of involvement?
No, as far as I remember, right, he was not aware, as much as I was not aware prior to December, but after December, he became aware that there are these ad hoc services, and then we started exchanging, communicating around them. He started asking me for reports. He started wanting to know from me, right, how it came about that these were allocated.
But equally, he didn't stop those services.
Exactly my point.
Okay. And then in this exchange and the direction that you have, if you go to the page 243 of file 2,
yes, I'm there.
This is an email from Rivers Peace to Commissioner Dlamini, copying, amongst others, the Chief of Police and yourself.
Yes.
And Rivers Peace asks, who approved and mandated ad hoc security services? Who decided to give the instruction for this? And how is this process managed and managed within the department? Right? What is not apparent in all of this exchange is your response. And perhaps you are going to deal with it in your supplementary, but what we don't see is you, the person that deals with these services within your department, does not at least give clarity that, no, I'm aware of these things, or I'm not aware, I'm going to investigate. There is no interaction that at least we have in our position. But perhaps to be fair to you, maybe you can look whether you did respond and say, and interact or reacted to this message. Can I just give you that indulgence rather for these purposes?
I know I responded
You
to
did
this.
respond, okay.
I did
What
respond.
was your response?
My response was this ad hoc services were called upon, were requested by the not requested, were done by the department, and I based my response on information that I gathered during investigation, right? And I went further to say, it is said the requesting department has committed to paying for this, what you call. I even indicated to Commissioner Space that this has already been communicated to your predecessor, right? I attached information that I communicated to his predecessor, being Commissioner Polais, on the email.
Did you tell Deputy Commissioner Spies that Mr. Piri is the one that approved these deployments? Because the question wants to know who approved and mandated the ad hoc security services. You know at this point, in March, that Piri is responsible for this. Did you tell, in that response that we are going to see from you, do you tell Commissioner Spies that it is Piri that approved?
Not specifically, Commissioner. I did not tell Commissioner Spies that it is Mr. Piri, because at that point in time, I was of the view that this were requested directly by the department from the service provider. But given the clarities that we went through today, right? Yes, I agree that whatever Mr. Piri was done, obviously on record indicates that it was my office that was allocating, but to be specific, I did not indicate that to Commissioner Space.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please note that I think we would need that to be provided, just so that you also have your version properly. And obviously, if you turn over at page 342, this is now an email from Chief of Police that is directed to Commissioner Spies. And what is clear there is that she's expressing shock. The email is dated 12 March 2025. It's all happening at around 4 p.m. She then exclaims that there are 30 additional sites only for January, but we can't belabor that point. And you see there he asks Polais to also explain who approved it. And are you aware if Polais also responded?
I'm not aware, but I'm aware that Commissioner Polais wrote to us to respond and or give background as to how it came about that this were done, and we did that.
Okay. Would you then also include that part in your supplementary statement? Thank you. Commissioners, the part that is left apart from the supplementary issue is, and I think the others would be circulating around the same point, is the working relationship with Commissioner Rivers Peace since his arrival at the TMPD. Perhaps I can just ask the witness.
Yeah, if you could take Mr. Malaj back to his statement, perhaps, because I think that part is dealt with there.
Apologies.
I'm saying perhaps you may take Mr. Malaj back to his statement, because I think that is dealt with.
Yes, I'm taking him there.
That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying
Thank
the
you.
other points in the statement, because we're just working.
Thank you.
Please go to file 1. what I was perhaps trying to, and I'm going to request Mr. Malachi that he tries and summarize it rather than read, page, sentence by sentence.
Maybe to be fair to him, so that he does not say, I was not allowed to
Read it.
say what I needed to say. If he starts from paragraph 26, the heading, and reads towards all the way to the end, and then if anything arises from that, then it can be dealt with briefly.
Okay,
So that he
that's fair
doesn't
enough.
say, for example, you didn't allow me to say what I wanted to say in paragraph 28.
No, that's fair enough. Thank you for the guidance. Please would you do that from paragraph 26 of your statement?
The heading here is generation and or creation of purchase orders for Kubis 85 solutions during February to June 2025 for ad hoc services. The reasons why Kubis solutions received a disproportionately large number of allocations for the provision of the ad hoc services. My response to the question, I did not generate purchase orders for Kubis solutions during February to June 2025 for ad hoc services. Purchase orders are created by the responsible finance officials at the MPD head office. I'm unaware that Kubis Solutions received many allocations for provision of ad hoc services. However, I'm aware that Kubis Solutions has been one of the reliable service providers. On 27, Commissioner, I think we just needed to rephrase it. When I'm saying I'm unaware, right? I meant to say before 2024 December, I was not aware. But since soon thereafter, I became aware that they were allocated this.
But that does not help you, because the heading, the question is clear to you that the period is February to 30 June 2025. So if you now want to change your statement to refer to 2024, that was not the question that was asked. You were asked to deal with February to 30 June 2025. That's what the heading says.
Okay, no.
So rather concede that you were incorrect.
I was, Commissioner.
Thank you, you can continue.
Whether I requested Deputy Commissioner Omar Shlamini and or Commissioner Ilan Faro to request funding in respect of TMPD2. My supervisor requested funding. I prepared the report, it should be the report, and the Chief of Police, the municipal manager, approved the funding request. I've attached here the report marked TP4. Umar Shlamini was not involved in the funding request.
Mr. Malachi, in this case, your supervisor is who? Is it Bolhays?
In this case, my supervisor was Mr. Navapillay.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And again, to be fair to you, maybe the way the question was posed, the documents you attached as TP4 cover the period when protection services was not with TMPD, because if you look at all those documents, they cover the period up to June 2024. So I think the question that you were being asked related to the 2025 year. So maybe the way it was framed created problems. So if you go to TP4 on page 11, for example, you will see that the documents you attached are for the year ending 30 June 2024.
Okay.
Whereas the question that should have been asked to you related to the 2025 year. So maybe when you supplement your statement, you can deal with that question, but focusing on the 2025 year.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Because the 2024 year, you were still under, who was your supervisor then? It was not Paul Hayes and it was not people in the TMPD.
Yes.
It was the city manager.
Yes.
So this is not helpful for that purpose.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
My supervisor, okay. My working relationship with Commissioner Rivospis since his arrival at the TMPD. Mr. Rivospis was appointed as a Deputy Chief of Police Asset and Protection Services on the 1st of March 2025. I have attached the employment advertisement which led to his appointment, marked STP 5. I noted that the employment functions of Mr. Spies, as reflected on the employment advertisement, are the same as my employment responsibilities. There is no material difference from my employment functions and his employment responsibilities. Mr. Spies then introduced himself.
Is that correct, though? Not that it's an important issue, but to the extent that you are putting it out there and you're placing it on a record, maybe it does need some clarification. I'm looking at page 26, which is the advert, and under primary functions, right at the bottom, it sets out what he's supposed to do. You see where I'm looking?
Page 26.
Page 26 of that same bundle. It's the advert itself that you have attached. You've attached the advert as TP5. The same file that has your statement.
Okay.
If you look at page 26, right at the bottom, you have primary functions, and so it sets out the functions of that position. And if you consider that with the earlier document, which is your functions and responsibilities at page 6, if you go to page 6, keep page 26 open, and then go to page 6. I don't see that it's the same primary functions, unless they're written differently, but mean the same thing. They are.
Yes,
they're not the same on the face of it.
I agree with the Commissioner.
Okay.
I think a mistake here was made with regard to the actual advert that called upon Mr. Spies, Rivo Spies appointment. So here I attached Group Head, City Strategic Organizational Performance. I should have attached Deputy Chief of Police, Mr. So as part of supplementary, I will rectify it.
Okay. All right. But that's fine. I think you can do that as part of the supplementary, but can we at least agree that on what is before us, what you have said in that paragraph in your statement, that the functions are the same, not according to the advert that you were relying on. It's an incorrect advert according to you.
Yes, no, I agree. I will rectify it.
Thank you.
What's this advert for then, the one you've attached at page 25?
This advert, I think the reason why I made mistake, this position was advertised with Commissioner Rivospis advert and others. So I think
that's not answering my question. What is this advert for? Your TP5 at page 25, what is it for?
This is for internal external forum. This is for the position of Group Head, City Strategic Organizational Performance. I mean the one that is attached here, which is not about advert for the
Deputy
position.
Chief
Yes, yes,
for the APSS.
exactly.
All right. Please continue reading your statement.
Okay.
You on paragraph 31.
Yes. Mr. Rivospis then introduced himself to me and my work team as my supervisor on the 5th of March 2025. It was after lecturing us about his experience, including arresting and dismissing corrupt police officials. He made a mention of his involvement in the closing of one of the police stations in Soweto back then, where police officers were alleged to be involved. So he gave me that. He was actually introducing himself as such, and he went further to inform us that he has got valuable experience in the policing field. He has been with law enforcement for almost 40 years. He served in various capacities, from Old Pretoria to Old Benoni traffic, until there were amalgamations. He became part of the new Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. That he has been a deputy chief of police in Ekurhuleni. So he was giving us his background, and he was giving us his, what you call, due to a complaint by Mr.
Did you read the last sentence of 31? Maybe you did.
Mr. Spies subsequently reported, misconduct allegations against me in June 2025. This is what has led to me.
And that's why I was saying to you, it was misconduct in June 2025.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner. Due to a complaint by Mr. Spies regarding the alleged misconduct, I was then suspended in July 2025 pending outcome of the disciplinary hearing process instituted against myself. Mr. Spies is the main witness on the same reported allegations in which I was charged. Our working relationship is therefore not good. In essence, I feel like his aim is to ensure that my employment with the city is terminated. I'm suspicious that Mr. Spies was appointed through a corrupt and irregular recruitment process to the following reasons. I've noted a complaint regarding the same issue recently submitted at the Public Protector's Office by an anonymous complaint. His qualifications were questioned. His employment position was advertised despite not being approved on TMPD employment structure, a conduct which is not in compliance with MFMA. I am suspicious that he is not registered.
Sorry. Can you explain what you mean by lack of approval on the TMPD employment structure?
Evidence is there to the effect that Mr. Rivospis was appointed on the 1st of March 2025 to the position of Deputy Chief asset protection and security services. At that point, the structure, the TMPD structure, was not accommodating that position. Instead, the TMPD structure was having the position of divisional head, asset protection services.
What's the difference?
The difference is divisional head asset protection services is almost a civilian position as opposed to police rank position. And I'm saying this because, Commissioner, the security management function in terms of the law and the national policy are not functions of the Metro Police Department by law. The Metro Police Department functions in terms of the law. They are as follows. To ensure that they enforce road traffic policing, they do bylaw enforcement, and they do crime prevention through environmental design. Issue of protection and or protective security services by law, they are security functions, and these functions are regulated in terms of the law, which is the Private Security Industry Regulations Act. The Act in Section 20 prescribes, amongst others, if a man or woman is not registered as a security practitioner, that man or woman or organization, in terms of the law, cannot perform.
But I think that's something else. That's something else. It does not go to the question of the approval of a structure.
Yes.
And that's something else which we've just touched on now. You do deal with in your statement, and I'm sure you are close to coming to it somewhere.
Okay.
That's something else.
Okay. Yes, no,
My issue is what you say was lack of approval in the structure.
Yes.
Let me tell you the difficulty that I have with that statement. My understanding of the testimony throughout was that somebody who is within the police department of the city of Tshwane was acting in this position even before Mr. or other Commissioner Spies was appointed. Am I correct?
You are.
And that was Commissioner Paul Hayes. Am I correct?
You are.
So are you saying throughout this was wrong? Or perhaps let me ask a different question. Surely, from the fact that someone was acting in this position, that must mean it was in the structure, not so? In what position would Commissioner Paul Hayes have been acting if the position was not in the structure?
Okay.
He was acting in a non-existing position. That's what you say.
No. Commissioner, in 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
No, let's not take it back, please. Okay. Please. Was Commissioner Paul Hayes acting in a non-existent position?
No, he was not acting in a non-existent position.
So the position was existing, obviously. That's the answer. So now, why does it suddenly become a problem when Commissioner Spies is appointed to that position?
Commissioner Police acted in the position of the divisional head, right, asset protection services. This is the position that was filled some time back, but became vacant, And yes,
Is that not the position Commissioner Spies was appointed to?
no, the position in terms of the structure that Commissioner Spies was appointed, it says Deputy Chief of Police, right? Asset Protection and Security Services.
That's still the APSS that you said Commissioner Paul Hayes was acting in, not so?
It's so,
You
but
just said so.
the issue of the structure, let me clarify, Commissioner, the issue of the structure with respect. The issue of the structure comes into the picture. When Commissioner Spies was appointed on the 1st of March 2025, right? To show that the structure was not accommodating that position, there is a structure that was approved on the 4th of June, right? 3 months down the line after he was appointed. And from where I am sitting, all right, I'm trying to say to the commissioner, this structure that was approved on the 4th of June 2025 was solely to accommodate Commissioner Rivo Space, because if it so happened that there is no June approval of the structure, so in terms of the structure before this new one, right, everyone would be occupying the position as per the structure being the divisional head, Asset Protection Services.
Before June, the position existed.
Of divisional head, Asset Protection Services, not Deputy Chief of Police.
So, Mr. Malachi, the person then that you're accusing of corruption cannot be, in this case of appointment, of this structure issue, must be the Chief of Police then, and whoever else approved that structure. It can be Deputy Commissioner Spies, because he doesn't create the structure. He's not the boss of the TMPD, and he's not the boss of the municipality. So the corruption that you're speaking of, if it is corruption at all, it has to be the Chief of Police. Is that what you're alleging?
I am, Commissioner, you are correct to say it cannot be Commissioner Rivo's peace if there is indeed corruption. It could be those who came up, right, with the new structure, right, which would include the Chief of Police and, yes, which would include the Chief of Police and whoever they were working on the issue of structures around it.
No, somebody is responsible for approving the structure. Forget who comes up with it. Someone bears the power to approve the structure. And it's either the Chief of Police is the one that carries the final say on approving the structure, or it's the city manager, or it's the council. One of the three must be the person, sorry, must be the person or the body that approves the structure. It's not, can we agree it's not Deputy Commissioner Spies?
Yes.
He doesn't determine the structure, right? Then that leaves his boss, because he reports to somebody. So it's either you're saying, and I think to the extent that you are making a very definite allegation of corruption, you're saying there was no structure, it was created to accommodate him. You should, I think you can't get away with saying, well, probably. You have to say who it is, do you say, is guilty of that corruption? And I'm giving you three that in my opinion is one of the three. You can add another one if you have somebody else in mind. But I'm saying to you, it's either the boss of the TMPD because it's her structure, and that's the person you are saying is corrupt, that they created this position. Two, it's either it is the city manager, if the city manager has the power to approve or the authority to approve a TMPD structure, I don't know how it works, or it's the council, if that is the ultimate authority for approving a structure. So you've made the allegation. Which of the three are you accusing of that corruption? Because if we have to follow up a trail of corruption, that there's corrupt activity about the structure, we have to know who you're speaking about and who to speak to. So it's one of the three. You can add a fourth one if there is.
All right. Commissioner, I think the Commission can inquire on the basis of my statement to the accounting officer, being the city manager. From where I'm sitting, I think he bears the responsibility.
So you are saying the city manager is guilty of the corruption because he's the one that bears the responsibility to approve a structure for TMPD. That's what you're saying.
I am saying that, but in the same breath, I'm also including those who might have submitted the structure to him for approval.
And it would have been submitted by the head of the TMPD, right?
Exactly.
So you are saying the head of this TMPD and or the head of the city are corrupt in that one of them approved the structure specifically created to accommodate Commissioner Spies. That's what you're saying. And I ask this so directly, Mr. Malachi, because we cannot allow, or we shouldn't allow this platform to be used to malign people's reputations without facts. You are making the statement, you haven't put to us the facts that back up that, and I hear your explanation why you say that this was created. You say there was no such position before, you explain that civilian, you're saying the position should not be under the police. I hear that, all of that explanation, but you are making a very specific allegation, which may well amount to criminality, which is one of the things we are supposed to investigate. So it is important that if you are alleging corruption in the specific terms that you are doing, that you should be pressed to say who, in fact, are you saying is the corrupt person in this equation?
Commissioner, I understand what the Commissioner is saying. In my statement, I'm saying I am suspicious that Mr. Spies was appointed through a corrupt, irregular recruitment process. I am suspicious. So I am not definitely saying somebody is corrupt. I am saying I am suspicious given the process. I will say this to the Commissioner. In the run-up to when Commissioner Spies was appointed, right? There were advertisements of the position, and in those advertisements of the position, the city.
Can we please confine this to the question being asked? The question is about the actors. Was it the chief of police? Was it the city manager? Was it council? Or can you think of more other people? That's the question. Please confine your response to that direct question.
My suspicion is on the
If you don't know, you don't know.
I will confine my.
I'm not saying you don't. You seem to hesitate when I say if you don't know, you don't. No, I'm not suggesting that you don't know. If you know, by all means, tell us.
My suspicion is confined to allegations of corruption are confined to, in as far as this position and approval of articles, to both the city manager and the chief of police.
Thank you.
Let me take you back to the issue I engaged you on. You have said there was no problem with the position, therefore I assume no problem with the advert as well. Before, at the time the advert went out. But you say it's only in June that there is a problem. And we know that Mr. Rivers Peace was appointed with effect from 1 March 2025. So the problem arises from June 2025. He's already within the system, correct? That's how I understood you in my earlier engagement with you.
Okay. Let me put the correct perspective of what I said.
Yes.
There was a problem right from the beginning when the position was advertised, right? The problem was, when I looked at the appointment requirements, it became very clear to me that these appointment requirements are earmarking specific individual.
No, let's look at the allegation you make.
Okay.
I'm engaging you on the basis of the allegation you are making in paragraph 33.2.
Okay.
You are saying this was not in the structure. My understanding, based on the responses you gave when I engaged you,
yes,
was that there was no issue, no question about this position being in the structure before June. So this is about the structure. It's not about how it was framed, whether it was framed to make sure that Commissioner Spies would be the person that gets appointed. That's not the issue. The issue is about what you say in 33.2. The fact that this was not accommodated in the structure. So what I'm saying is, with regard to that issue, I understood you to say that the problem with the structure arose from June 2025, but before that, there was no problem, insofar as the structure was concerned.
Because the structure commissioner was different. The structure of the TMPD before June was the divisional head asset protection services. Now, he got appointed whilst the structure was talking to divisional head. And it was only in June that the structure was changed and got approved. So the point I'm trying to put to the commissioner is...
The position advertised, was it not the position that existed in accordance with the structure before June?
No, it was not. The position that existed prior the advertisement, right, was the divisional head asset protection services, not deputy chief asset protection services.
Divisional head?
Yes.
And Mr. Bolhayes was acting as divisional head?
I take it that he was acting in the in the position of the divisional head. Hence, he was already appointed as deputy chief responsible for training and all of that. But it was not, with Mr. Place, it was not a problem because there was no...
He was already a deputy chief.
Exactly.
And some others.
So he came into act. And hence I took it. I'm putting it to the commission that when he acted, he was acting in the position of divisional head, asset protection services, not the deputy chief of police, asset protection services.
All right, thank you. Please proceed to 33.3.
I am suspicious that he is not registered with SIRA, which is a requirement for any person appointed to perform, supervise, manage private security services. Again, I am making a suspicion, and with this in mind, I hope if the commission looks into this, right, it would either find facts to say indeed he is registered with SIRA or is not registered with SIRA. Hence, I'm saying I am suspicious that he's not.
Why do you suspect that he's not registered with SIRA?
I suspect
because a suspicion has to be reasonable. It has to be based on some fact.
Okay. When the advert that for which Mr. Speed has responded and ultimately appointed, it made the following as appointment requirements: registration as a traffic officer, appointment as a metro police officer, right? And yes, SIRA, but these were two key factors that I took note of. Why would the city make registration as a traffic officer and appointment as a metro police officer an appointment requirement for the position of for the position in security management? And I therefore drew a conclusion that they are making this, the city is making this appointment requirements because they are well aware that there are security professionals out there who would obviously develop interest into the position and apply.
Of Johannesburg. So far, more than 2,000 delegates are expected to attend, with Helen Ziller and John Steenhuisen out of the race. Several party members have availed themselves for the positions of federal leader and federal chairperson. Spokesperson Nazli Sharif.
So for the leadership position, we have the Mayor of Cape Town, Jordan Hill-Lewis, and the DA Sedibeng District Municipality Caucus leader, Sibusiso Dionasi. In terms of the federal chairperson, we have the Minister of Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism in the Western Cape, Dr. Ivan Meyer, and the leader of the opposition in Gauteng, Salim Simanga. In terms of the federal deputy chairpersons, we have 7 candidates. We have Celia Brink, Belinda Esijonyoko, Siviwe Gwahube, Soli Malatsi, Andrew Mare, Norma French Mbombo, and Nicholas Nyati.
The chairperson of the newly established Oversight Committee on the Presidency, Doris Mpapane, says they'll take a decision on the outcome of the Constitutional Court judgment on the Phala Phala case after it's delivered. The court has confirmed that its decision on the saga will be delivered within a month. The case relates to a burglary at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Phala game farm in Limpopo. Mpapane says the committee wants to allow the court process to take its course.
All I can say is that that matter of the Section 89 is with the relevant institutions, and we must allow those institutions to do their work. We will be able to respond to that question once the judgment has been passed. But for now, I don't have a direct response to this question. Thank you.
ANC Member of Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police, Magudumwela, says the country's security forces should be given the space and time to do their work effectively. He says this includes the Cape Flats, where gang violence and killings have continued despite the deployment of the Defence Force.
Deployments of this nature requires time to tackle full effect. Intelligence gathering, joint operations, community trust building, and sustain pressure on criminal networks all take coordination and persistence. Initial spikes or continued incidents do not necessarily mean the strategy is failing. They can sometimes reflect heightened activity as criminals are flushed out or disrupted. This is not an indication that nothing will change.
The Kucha Development Corporation in the Eastern Cape and Eskom have renewed their partnership through a memorandum of understanding. The agreement positions Kucha as a key infrastructure and industrial partner in Eskom's nuclear new build program. Kucha CEO Themba Khoza.
The MOU represents more than just a formal agreement. It symbolizes a strategic partnership between two public sector entities, each with a clear mandate to serve the country's developmental priorities. Through this collaboration, we seek to leverage our respective strengths to support the planning, preparation, and future implementation of the nuclear new build program that Eskom is responsible. As CDC, we bring to the partnership a world-class industrial infrastructure platform, honed over decades.
4 migrants have died trying to cross the English Channel from France to the UK in a small boat. The BBC's Hugh Schofield has more.
Rescue services were called to the beach at Equillon at first light after reports of bodies in the sea. The Préfet of the Pas-de-Calais department said that a group had been trying to board a taxi boat, which meant wading through the water, but there were strong currents and 2 men and 2 women were carried away. Their nationality is not known. Around 40 would-be migrants were looked after at the scene, but the boat itself then continued its journey with about 30 others on board. There's been calm, clement weather in the Channel in recent days, as a result of which the number of attempted crossings has gone up.
Top story, the DA says it's ready for its federal congress scheduled for this weekend in Midrand, north of Johannesburg. That's SAFM News, I'm Greg Kuss.
In sports this hour, World Athletics warns SASCOC over interference in Athletics South Africa. Motsepe reaffirms zero tolerance for corruption, and Japan to host T20 World Cup qualifiers at new Asian Games cricket venue. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We kick-started in Joburg, Sandton, right in the central Sandton area, a crime scene the police are dealing with. It's outbound on Catherine at Greyston. There's all sorts of traffic restrictions around this and some very heavy backlogging going on there. Catherine Street leaving central Sandton and Greyston coming around from the Benmore side. All very heavy as you try to get through that part of Sandton this afternoon. Police are still dealing with an incident on the N3 South. It's halfway between Modderfontein Road and Linksfield Road. It's a really big backlog of traffic, heavy queues all the way back into the Linbro Park area. N3 going south after that. It's got a breakdown near Heldene, so some delays as you get into Giluli's interchange territory. N1 south to William Mandela, that looks quite slow. The N1 north up through Midrand, not too bad. Dustport Tunnel out of Pretoria, heavy backlogs today from Kwaka all the way up Transarunya through the tunnel onto Bremen. That's a really big queue up of traffic to work through there. Durban side, a breakdown on the N2.
It's a grievance, whether it's a complaint, in whatever form, have you lodged any of the three items here with the city so that the city investigates it? Because if you have lodged them, and we would have to hear from the city what they have done with them since you lodged these 3 concerns.
Since his appointment, I have not. The only correspondence I made was prior to his appointment, and then this appointment gave rise to what I was complaining about. And until today, I sat back and say, okay, fine. Even if I'm going to, even if I'm going to lodge a grievance or a complaint, right? As much as they did not deem it fit to respond to my correspondence in the past, right? From where I'm sitting, they wouldn't even entertain it now.
So the short answer is you haven't lodged a grievance, a complaint, or a report about Commissioner Spies as it relates to the 3 suspicions that you have listed in the statement.
Correct.
In short. Okay, thank you.
Paragraph 34, or have you read it? Please read paragraph 34.
I've listened to the allegations raised by Commissioner Spies about me, which were presented to the court. I disagree and dispute this allegation, dispute these allegations in this regard. If my memory still serves me well, generally, Commissioner Spies informed the Commission that I was not complying to instructions, I was not working well with him, and so forth and so on. So I wanted to put it to the Commission that it is not true that I was not complying with his instructions where it is supposed to, right? It might have happened that I missed one or two, and the Commission should not take it that I missed that instruction because I did not work with him. I complied with many of his instructions, and yes, where I happened not to, it was not deliberate, you know, because otherwise I would be guilty of not taking my work seriously. But it happens in life that sometimes somewhere there you happen not to do things. But generally, I have complied with instructions that were given to me by Commissioner Spies, despite the differences that I've alluded to. So I came to a point where I realized, okay, fine, there's no way I can be regard myself over and above the organization. This organization is about the community, meaning if I'm to do what is in the best interest of serving the community of Tshwane, I would do that regardless of the differences that I might have with colleagues here and there. So my commitment is that. That is why, Commissioner, I'm sitting here, it's for 10 months, almost 10 months on suspension, getting a salary, and I'm very much guilty of getting paid, right, for so long without doing anything to benefit the city and or the community of Tshwane. I'm sitting here receiving a salary for 10 months without doing anything. But with me, I need the commissioner to note this. It is not for the first time. In 2017 to 2019, right? Fortunately, back then, I was not suspended. They just took me out of the position, right? Gave it to someone else, and continued to pay me a salary, right? Without me doing anything. And back then, my heart was very sore, but I couldn't do a thing until I took the matter through grievance process, CCMA, and I was awarded.
You were placed back in your position.
Back into my position.
At what stage is the disciplinary process now?
Commissioner, since my suspension in July, we never sat in a hearing and I've not pleaded, right? Every now and then they would postpone, right? It was last time that we then applied for the dismissal of the charges because seemingly the employer is not.
Has there been no decision on that thus far, on that application?
There is no decision. We are going back on the 24th of this month. We will hear the decision then.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Malachi?
No, I don't have any comment. If this is to say we are coming to the end of my presence today, right, my comment would only be to thank the Commission for affording me an opportunity to come and share with the Commission these things that I have been going through all this. Thank you.
Anything else, Mrs. Kakane?
Yes, Chair. There's just 2 or 3. I know 2 or 3 issues and then I'm done. Apologies.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead,
Thank you.
Mrs.
Thank you. Just so that we are clear, you said earlier that you have been refused access to the workplace in order to prepare.
Yes.
Okay. When did you make such a request?
If my memory still serves me well, I requested, it was a day after I received the summons, and I contacted the director responsible for disciplinary hearings as per the terms and conditions of my suspension. He came back to me to say, EMM has decided that I should make them aware when I go into my office to work on this. They would arrange a colleague to go with me. Then that did not, what you call, well with me, and I called him so that we discuss this matter. And
so when was this?
Immediately after, let me...
No, just, it's fine. Is the matter of last year, this year?
No, this year, immediately after I received Sapuna to come and appear before the commission.
Okay.
Yes.
So you did request and then they refused?
I would say they refused because, yes, they refused. I engaged him, and then he came back to say, no, you must inform us, and then we'll make someone else to escort you, right? And I went back to him to say, why would I be escorted? Because,
Shouldn't, I'm just thinking, Mrs. Kakane, unless you will be pushing at the end for us to make findings on this issue. The practical way, I think, is to deal with it in the manner in which I suggested earlier on, which is for you to assist Mr. Malachi to get whatever documentation he may be minded to get.
Thank you. It was truly to assist him because there is that request which they interacted and they said he can get access, but but we'll deal with
any detail you want from him as to where the hitches were, you may just interact with him and then see how best to take the matter forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, I think that's
it. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Malachi. You are excused, but of course that does not necessarily mean that you may not be required to come back. But for now, you are excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes. And we adjourn and resume at 9:30 tomorrow. Let's adjourn.
From Professor Jonathan Jansen, who described it. First of all, he's wondered why is it taken that long? Like it's like my initial point, like 30 years or so plus, right? And then described this anti-intellectual and soul deadening. What's your understanding of that?
Well, I think over the years there's been lack of political will. You are quite right. 30 years is a very long time. There was no political will to address the issue. Remember, the First Minister of Education, the late Professor Sibusiso Bengu, had a task to amalgamate all the curricula that were there during the apartheid years to try and unify and come into one curriculum which could be able to address all the needs of our learners in the country. And of course, the curriculum has evolved, from NSC, outcome-based education and so on, up to now we have the CAPS document, which outlines clearly what should be done. But what Minister Siviwe seeks to do is also to ensure that, we must find a balanced approach. South Africa must be able to invest in developing our history, including African languages, so that they can function effectively in education while maintaining, the bridge in the global engagement. English, obviously, is still being taught, and learners will be able to continue to learn in English, but the history becomes very important, because if you don't know where you come from, it really becomes difficult for you to function correctly in the global affairs.
All right. I heard that. So just to give us a more deeper overview of if there's a revision, something has to drop off and something has to be included. So in terms of what your understanding of what the minister said, what will that be? What's dropping off? What's going to be included? Some specifics.
Well, to be quite honest, the issue here is not to drop Afrocentric education, but rather to strengthen it. Because in the past there's been a lot of focus on Afrocentric education, and for us to strike a balance, we also need to reposition, African knowledge, particularly history, and the lived experiences of our people at the center. They must be at the center of teaching and learning. Because for many years, South Africa has operated within a Eurocentric curriculum that often marginalizes African perspectives. Therefore, the aim here, as I said earlier on, is to produce the learners who are grounded in their identity. But at the same time, these learners must be able to maintain, their intellectual capacity and be open to the world, because it cannot be correct to just focus only on African history or South African history. Learners also need to know what is going on in the world. So we're not dropping off the European history that has always been there. They still have to learn it. But we must broaden and increase the capacity of African history, in particular South Africa.
Okay.
So that it can have a broader perspective as well.
Henrik Makaneta, I appreciate your time. So there we are. Let's run through some of the specifics. Jan van Riebeck, again, the anniversary celebrated just a couple of days ago. What about global stuff like Martin Luther King? Think about that. You can add your thoughts too.
EFC returns to Johannesburg this Thursday. The undisputed heavyweight champion, Madlanga Triple H Jikasa,
and Triple H Power is back on top of the mountain.
Takes on the undefeated Senegalese warrior, Adama Diop.
Adama Diop takes the KO.
Plus, middleweight contenders collide as JT Botha battles Mwandile Hlongwa. EFC 132, live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action, news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Right, let's get some of your comments as well, reaction about the history curriculum and just your interpretation thereof.
Ashraf and the team, to our guests from the activists regarding basic education history. Ashraf, I will support that we learn on our own history of our country, maybe drop Afrikaans and put African or South African history as a compulsory subject. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, so you mean drop Afrikaans as a language, but you're allowed to do a second language, whichever one it is. And yes, maybe Afrikaans may dominate, but it's not the only one. That means you drop all second languages as an option, and then why English as a first language? All confusing. Right, let's talk. We'll pick up some more voice notes from you in a moment, but there's other developments that I want to pick up on that regarding some significant changes in terms of how leadership is addressed that we'll talk about right after this.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So the chairperson of the Committee on the Presidency addressed members of the media during a press briefing following the committee's strategic planning session, a few days ago. And this committee convened the session with experts from academia and the executive. Why? Well, to provide members and support staff with a deeper understanding of how the presidency operates. We're talking of the office of the presidency specifically. Let's find out then with the chairperson of the committee, and that's Doris Impapane. I appreciate your time and thanks for joining us here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you and your listeners at home.
Good afternoon indeed. Right, so give us an overview of, why the need? Did you find that there's a disconnect? People didn't quite know how the presidency works or the office of the presidency?
Thank you very much for that question. Remember, this committee is a new committee, the first of its kind. So for us to have a better understanding of what of our job, we needed to have a strategic planning session so that we can get the presentations from independent experts and academia so that we pave way and have a better understanding what is before us.
All right, and that have a better understanding was driven by what? What did the insights or analysis tell you? That there was a disconnect?
There is no disconnect at all. But for the committee to come out with its own program of action and also the program of action and also annual performance plan, we needed this strategic planning so that we are all on the same par and have that better understanding of the work. Remember, it is a first committee of its kind in the history of our country or even in the whole world. There is no committee that is overseeing the presidency. So South Africa is the first one to have it.
So let's then talk about it. If it's that historic, when there's no committee that oversees the presidency. So tell me then, how does this committee oversee the presidency?
The committee will focus on vote one of the presidency. Remember, there is this notion of saying that the presidency is huge. There is a lot that is happening there. So before the establishment of this committee in the sixth term, there was a study tour that was undertaken by Parliament to go out to countries like the UK and also Kenya to get how are they doing it. They came back. They couldn't find anything specifically that says there are committees that are overseeing the Prime Minister or the presidency. So after that, in the seventh Parliament, we had to deal with this matter, adopted the rules of establishing the committee, and also after adopting the rules, we had to deal with what is it that we want to oversee. So we are at that step of learning, of taking one step at a time, because we couldn't find what exactly, how to go about it. So we needed more information. We are still going to have our strat plan again workshop in Parliament with the presidency so that we can have a better understanding of who reports where and what is, there's a lot that is being raised. Like, for instance, to say there are many commissions, there is this youth fund, there is this and that, and people expect us just to go there and oversee everything. So before we could do our job, we must understand who reports where and what is our role. What is it that we will be overseeing? We are there to fill up the gap. So remember, in this committee of ours, yes, it's a committee, it's an oversight committee on the presidency, but it's not the same as other portfolio committees, where you will have the department. Let's say, for instance, in the presidency, we have the Department of Women, Youth, and People with Disability, and also we have the Department of Electricity, we have the Department, the GCIS, we have the State Security, we have planning, monitoring, and evaluations. We are not going to oversee those departments, because already there are portfolio committees that are overseeing them.
I would think so, absolutely. Yeah. But let me end with this then. In not doing that, right? Clearly, and maybe just very briefly with a brief answer, there would be a desired outcomes, right? So when this committee does its work, how do you see its outcomes playing out? That means, how do we see the difference?
Hours after embarking on this strat plan, and also, like I said, we are still going to have a workshop with the presidency so that they can give us the whole structure of the presidency. Then we will come up with a plan and program of actions. We will have targets. Our performance will be measured based on the achieved targets, identified targets that we will put in place as a committee.
Okay.
So, yeah, we are going to take one step at a time.
Well, it needs to be one large step, I'm sure about that. Doris Mpapane, the chairperson of this committee, which is the Committee on the Presidency, this established committee, now new one, to oversee the office, in this case, of the presidency. And as you know, the president is very much a part of that. How does that play out? It's something we all may speculate on for now, and then hopefully one day soon we'll see the actual tangible results. 5:30, news headlines. Here's Greg Host.
In the headlines, 2 people have been killed and 2 others wounded in a shooting incident at Omonde, south of Johannesburg. The DA says it's ready for its federal congress this weekend in Midrand. And the Israeli military has issued evacuation warnings for residents in the southern suburbs of Lebanon's capital, Beirut. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very heavy getting up through Pretoria's Dustport Tunnel today. Traffic lights out Market Street. It's actually technically Bremer and Market. It's north of the tunnel, but that means a queue back through the tunnel and back deep onto Transorania. Crash on the M1 south at Buerta Avenue, causing a delay coming into Centurion, leaving Pretoria. And Joburg's N3 still sluggish between Limbo Park and Heldenase interchange down in Germiston. The N12 home to Benoni, a breakdown around Atlas Road, causing some delays sitting in from the Boksburg side. Durban, a crash on the N2 south near Westwood Mall. That's popped a queue back through Umgeda and back through Inanda Road. The N2 South looking heavy. Routes out through Springfield like Inanda Road and Umgeda Road are quite heavy towards the N2 today. And a truck crash on the M7 going up the hill to Belleville Road. Heavy from Bel Air and Wakesy. If you're moving away from that Rossborough area on your way to Pinetown, you will hit some big backlogs. And Cape Town, very heavy delays on the N2 corridor. It's a massive grass fire. A lot of smoke in the area. It's on the N2 between Bunga Avenue and Jan Smuts Drive. Heavy coming in from the airport towards that scene, but heavy going out with the smoke and the onlook as well. The N2 starts the queue from the city centre through Hospital Bend, right out towards Bunga Avenue. Behind that, the M5 South coming off the Kubo Interchange and the M3 North in from Newlands. Some real queues trying to get into that N2 outbound backlog. South Peninsula, worth a mention, very heavy. Breaking down truck on Okarpsa going south, and a lot of congestion between Fischhoek and Muizenberg both ways along the main road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
when last have we opened the betting to me with athletics?
Well, we're starting today. Tensions are rising in South African athletics after World Athletics warned South African Sports Confederation and Olympic Committee about possible government interference. This follows Parliament's recommendation to dissolve the Board of Athletics South Africa. And World Athletics says that political involvement is not allowed and could lead to Athletics SA being suspended. If that happens, South African athletes could miss major events like the Olympics and Commonwealth Games. ASA has asked SASCOC to respond urgently, but the committee wants changes to ASA's recovery plan, despite it already being approved by World Athletics. Imagine our athletes not going to the Olympics or Commonwealth Games. That
So
would
what's
be
the
tragic.
issue?
So basically, World Athletics is saying the government should not interfere because there's been a lot of issues with Athletics South Africa, fund misappropriations and a lot of things. And just recently they were in Parliament, and Parliament was saying that, actually even the minister was saying that the ASA board needs to be disbanded and there needs to be a new board. However, now World Athletics is saying, government, can they not intervene in these things? Let the federation stuff
So
be
government
dealt with in
should
it.
not intervene, as
Yes.
opposed to government, please do
Should
intervene
not
and sort out the
interfere.
mess.
No, they say they should not interfere.
Okay, got that.
Or else they will be banned. So we'll definitely keep a close eye on this one. In football, the Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe says that the organization has zero tolerance for corruption and is willing to cooperate with any African government that wants to investigate it. Motsepe was speaking at the conclusion of his visit to Senegal, his first since the CAF Appeals Board stripped them of the AFCON 2025 title and handed it to Morocco.
I welcome any investigation, whether it's an investigation by a government or an authority or anybody. I welcome and support it, because any corruption in CAF, we want to know about it, and we will take action ourselves immediately. We have a duty to our people in Africa. If as I said, any government, any institution, please go ahead, conduct the investigation. We will give you all the cooperation. In fact, I encourage you. And if you know anything, let us know, because I can tell you, whilst I'm president of CAF, we will never conceal any corruption. And I'll tell you why. Because it is more important. Let me put it this way. Corruption is worse than COVID. Corruption is worse than illnesses, is worse than cancer.
Elsewhere, AC Milan, Inter Milan and Juventus will play a series of pre-season friendlies at Perth Stadium this August. Plans to stage a Serie A fixture in Australia were scrapped last year, but fans will now see Milan face Inter on the 5th of August. Inter meet Juventus 3 days later, and Juve take on Palermo on the 11th of August. In rugby, Blitzboks head coach Philip Snyman says that the team has reset and is sharpening key areas as they prepare for the upcoming 3 HSBC Sevens World Championship events. St. David's and Jaden now have been drafted into the group as South Africa chased their first ever tournament victory in Hong Kong. And then in cricket, Japan's newly built cricket stadium in Shin near Nagoya will host the men's T20 internationals for the first time next month. The venue, constructed for this year's Asian Games, stages the East Asia Pacific qualifiers for the 2028 T20 World Cup from the 8th to the 18th of May. Now, 9 teams, including hosts Japan, Papua New Guinea, Fiji and South Korea, will compete in the region's biggest qualifying tournament yet. And matches will also be played at the Japan Cricket Association's headquarters outside Tokyo. Organizers say that this event is a chance to showcase cricket in Japan ahead of the Asian Games later this year. That's it from my side.
Thanks for that, to me. Actually, I want to talk to you tomorrow about the strength of schools rugby. Why so strong versus, cricket and soccer, as an example, right? So thanks for that, to me.
For 90 years, One voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And as always, those numbers come with the Jimmy Moyaha. Jimmy, we've been talking about fuel or petrol this last whole week for obvious reasons. So what is the issue around fuel surcharges?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. Well, this one caught a couple of us by surprise. The fuel suppliers in the country, some of them have decided to start levying surcharges on their own retailers. So we're going to take a look at that and try and make sense of that, because we don't really know who it affects, who it doesn't affect, how these surcharges are levied, what the basis is here. All we know is that the cost of fuel has gone up significantly and everybody is feeling that pinch. So we're going to look at that and try and make sense of where we go to from here around that. And then we have a conversation taking a look at the other side of fuel conversations. The recent developments have taught us that clearly the reliability that we place on fossil fuels is still very, very evident, whether we're looking at coal, whether we're looking at oil, or we're looking at gas. So we're going to speak to the chief economist at the Vision Group, Davi Rood, around that and get a sense of whether or not it is ambitious to think that we can move away from fossil fuels if we are to look to want to boost economic development, particularly in developing countries like South Africa. We'll also have a conversation with the team at Standard Bank taking a look at the recent Twizzler deal with the Indian company Varun. That was obviously a 2.1 billion rand sale there. We're going to take a look at that and try and make sense of that deal and what we can learn from it. Then we have a conversation, as we always do every Thursday, an SME of the week. We're going to speak to the founder of a company called Beauty on Tap, get to know that business a little bit better and try and understand a bit more about that business. We also have a conversation with the Purple Group around their numbers for the first 6 months. Before we get to those numbers and those conversations, though, some other numbers that have been moving around throughout the day. Markets have had a somewhat better day, I suppose, depending on which part of the markets you are looking at. Equity is not such a good day. We were in the green for the entirety of yesterday. Today, most of the markets are in the red. The all-share closing down 1%, the top 40 down 1%, resource stocks down only 0.25%, or a little over 0.25%, but industrials down 1.2% and financials down 1.93%. The rand still 16 rand 34 against the US dollar, against the British pound 21 rand 96. 1 euro still above 19 rand, 1 Australian dollar 11 rand and 57 cents. The gold price has not yet broken back above $4,800 a fine ounce, but Brent crude has gone back towards $100 because apparently a ceasefire for 2 weeks that lasted less than 12 hours is got the market spooked again. So that's what we're going to have a look at in a bit more detail on markets. I have Prime Expertise Gerabile Nonyana joining me on that conversation. The other side of markets before we go. Equity markets internationally not having a better day at all. The ASX in Sydney, the only international market at the moment that's finished out in the green, but only by 8 basis points. The US markets are currently in the red ever so slightly. We'll see how they trade into the evening. The price of a Bitcoin is still above $70,000 a coin, $72,000 a coin to be more precise, or in rand terms, that is around 1.14 million rand with that slightly stronger rand. So we've got lots to dig into from a markets perspective as we wrap up the week, but those conversations, of course, after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
All right, perfect. Thanks for that, Jimmy, and enjoy your show, 6 to 7.
SAFM is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
EFC returns to Johannesburg this Thursday. The undisputed heavyweight champion, Madlanga Triple H Jikasa,
and Triple H power is back on top of the mountain. Takes on the undefeated Senegalese warrior, Adama Diop.
Adama Diop takes the KO.
Plus, middleweight contenders collide as JT Botha battles Mwandile Hlongwa. EFC 132. Live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
It's Elimination Week on Color Your Plate this Sunday evening at 7. The bottom 4 duos face their toughest challenge yet, a mystery box breakfast that could send them home. With ingredients revealed on the spot and pressure mounting, teamwork and quick thinking are everything. Only the strongest duos will survive. Who will survive to cook another day? Find out on Color Your Plate, Sundays at 7. Repeat Saturdays at 4:30 p.m. only on SABC 2.
SAFM music, crafted to make you feel real good. Handpicked just for your pleasure. Classics sounding so good, only on SAFM. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, we're going to talk just now about South Africa performing well in the spelling bee competition in Africa and what happens next to them. But for now, let's talk about this, right? The Justice and Constitutional Development Minister, Mamaloko Kubai, officially released the proposed Protection Disclosures Bill, which calls on stakeholders across civil society, business and labor to submit input by May 14. So what does that really mean, the Protected Disclosures Bill? Kelly Pillay is the Acting Director General at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Kelly, thanks for joining us. Why should we be bothered?
Good evening, and thank you very much. Yes, I think we should be bothered about the bill. Because it brings about significant changes to existing legislation to protect whistleblowers. And there's been a call for some time for improvements to the legislation. And we have finally submitted the draft bill for public comment, after which we will then promulgate or seek permission from Cabinet to introduce the bill in Parliament.
Okay.
So it's important.
All right. Tell me why, in terms of how would that play out if the bill becomes, put into law. What would be the implications and what drives that process?
Well, the implications is that it strengthens protection for whistleblowers. We've now created a direct link to the Witness Protection Act, in that disclosures or related persons can seek protection under the Witness Protection Act. Previously, it was understood that the Witness Protection Act provides protection only for witnesses in a case, and that is before the courts. So therefore, they did not extend to whistleblowers. But apart from that, the legislation also clarifies to whom you may make a disclosure. It creates offenses for employers who commit an offense by revealing the identity of a disclosure. It also, of a disclosure, it creates an offense where the employers do not abide by certain parts of the legislation. It also creates protection in the sense that further correction about who you may make a disclosure to, and it provides guidance to members of the public generally on how to make a disclosure. It also creates certain protections and guarantees certain protections insofar as the creation of a database for protected disclosures. This is currently not in existence. What we currently have is a disclosure may be made to several authorized persons, be it the Chapter 9 institutions or an employer, and you would never know where a disclosure was made or when and by whom. So I think that's one of the tightening of the provisions to create the database so that you have a sight of where a disclosure is being investigated. But I think also critically, we don't have a complaints mechanism in current legislation. We've now created an office headed by a judge to deal with complaints where portions of the legislation are not being adhered to, and the judge may also investigate how a disclosure was investigated. So those are just some of the key highlights of the bill.
All right. Well, thanks for explaining that. I mean, lastly, just for now, I mean, so therefore, in practical terms, how would we see the difference, between the future versus what we have right now?
So I think one of the problems, as we said, is that there wasn't a complaints mechanism. So what the common complaint is that if a person suffered occupational detriment at the hands of their employer, and if they reported a wrongdoing or improper conduct, they would have to then go to the courts, so be it the labor court or the high courts, to seek relief if they suffered occupational detriment. By creating different mechanisms and a better complaints mechanism, they would not necessarily have to go to court unless it is absolutely necessary to enforce their rights. So the bill also proposes certain relief that they can claim from an employer if they suffer occupational detriment. While that was in the legislation, we've also tightened up those provisions to say that they may also claim relief from the courts, from the employer, or a person related to the employer who was the cause of the occupational detriment.
All right.
And when we say occupational detriment, we would mean where you are harassed or where in your workplace or where you are denied a promotion, etc.
Wow, thanks for clearing all of that, up, Calais Pillay. Thanks for your time, Acting Director General at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. What about your thoughts, reaction? Let's get it. Today, tomorrow, we're bound to get it. It is that.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, close to the end of the show, let's talk about South Africa winning. I love these champions when they do really well. So South Africa's spelling team delivered a top-notch performance at the 8th African Spelling Bee competition in Zimbabwe, right? And therefore, finishing top in the overall team rankings. Let's find out more about it with George van Wijngaard, a junior member of the South African Spelling Bee team. Clearly, George, you and your team knows your A's to your Z's, right?
I mean, yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. So, I mean, well done to everybody who was part of this big victory. But tell us more about it. It was in Zimbabwe. Tell us the whole process that was followed, and where you emerged as winners.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I didn't expect to win it, if I'm being completely honest. There was a point right after the juniors did it and the seniors were about to do it that you kind of realized that you stood a chance. But, it was an actual surprise, and we're very proud of ourselves.
How many members of the team are there from a South African side?
There are 6 of us. There are 3 in the senior team, and there are 3 in the junior team.
And, I mean, I think I know what a spelling bee is, but let me not assume much. What are you expected to do?
So a spelling bee is a competition where a bunch of usually children, generally adults don't compete in spelling bees, but usually children compete to see who knows vocabularies the best and who can spell the best. So you stand up on a stage, they ask you a word, and you spell the word out.
I mean, I've seen it so often. We say, Wijngaard, Wyngard. I mean, I would think the preparation must be immense for you, isn't it?
Yeah, the preparation is.
So how then do you prepare? Because I mean, there's a million words. How do you know what's going to come up so you can train for it?
Oh, you really don't. Generally, they don't give you word lists. Sometimes they do, but generally they don't. And you really memorize language origins. So every word has a path that it travels through to less complicated languages than English that don't have so many rules. And if you follow their rules, you can kind of work your way to the current English format.
Interesting. Give me an example of one.
So Latin and Greek are the two main origins of words. Latin prefers using T's for that sh sound in words that you often hear with the shs at ends of words. Greek usually prefers to use the C.
Okay, and you need to know that, and therefore that will help you when you are asked to spell a word, right?
Yes, that helps immensely, especially if you come up on a word that you don't know.
So if they say like spell encyclopedia, you may think you know, but you don't want to trip over the A's and the E's. You would follow then a line, a course, effectively a manual that says that's how you're going to get to the answer, right?
Yeah, that's how I get to the answer.
All right. Now, understand that South Africa will finish up as the team best in Africa. What does it mean going forward now?
So this was originally going to be the final competition, but right before the African round, the South African team was invited to the World Spelling Bee to be held in Shanghai, China, sometime in June, July. So that's our next big thing, and we're very excited for that.
Okay, now take it. You're in school. Which school are you at? Give your school a shout out.
I'm in Pretoria Boys High School.
Okay, you're not playing rugby, but you're certainly spelling things out and doing that pretty well. Well, you've spelled it out just fine. Love to speak to a winner, and best wishes going forward to Shanghai as well. George van Weengaard, the junior member of the South African Spelling Bee team. Great winners there. Let's have more champions.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. SAFM.
Right, lots of more comments. We wrap up the show with your comments, including that on the history curriculum.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I hear the gentleman that is on radio right now talking about history becoming compulsory. I don't think it is really necessary that, everybody has to be forced to do history. Look at other countries like Zimbabwe, like when you get to your grade 9, grade 10, you get to choose whether you want to do that. It's like, you want to do science or not. For some of other people are not really good into reading, all those notes. So I don't think it's a good idea. Let the students choose what they want to choose. Maybe back in primary school, maybe they might say that, but in high school, I don't think so.
Yeah, my concern is it means taking up space, right? If you have to do that as a subject, you have to give up something else, isn't it?
Good day, Ashraf. I understand of history, man. But in South Africa, why, man? Eh? You know, we need doctors. We need engineers. We need children who will challenge the world. Huh? Why don't they say they crush this thing of 30% instead? Huh? Than fighting for history. Hey, who did this? Who did that? What is it? What is a child going to benefit out of that? Who did that? Hey, 1960. Hey, Gaddafi. Hey, what? You're wasting children's time. Man. Cut this 30% or 33% and put 80% to 90%. I thank you, Ashraf.
Thank you.
These children, they've got everything. Everything is in the palm of their hand. They can do better. Instead of giving children 30% and then talking about history. What is history? Man, South Africa, man, we need to wake up. Man, we're killing the future of these children.
You know, your call.
Thank you.
Thanks, but your call is also making history. You know that because you're reflecting on the children. That's our children. The point is, history does reflect not just what happened, but important lessons to learn. So, for example, what is apartheid? That's history. Who's Mandela? That's history. What about Lutuli? That's the struggle in Steve Biko. For example, there are lessons to learn. When we talk about Donald Trump now, and we bring up other people like Martin Luther King, or, for example, you mentioned Gaddafi, or you talk about Khomeini, or Netanyahu and the decisions they make. All that is history, and it helps us learn how human beings make decisions. That's good, isn't it?
Good day, Ashraf.
Okay, and another one, as citizens of South Africa, we endorse the proposal to introduce history as a compulsory subject from grade 1 to 12. There we are. In Nkosinati, with a surname like Lutuli, I expect you to endorse it if you get my point. Right, here's another.
Errol, yeah. You know, the way Malema has spoken, it's almost as if he's resigned himself that he's going to receive a heavy 15 years jail sentence. I mean, he's not the same defiant, loudmouthed Julius Malema. He's sort of soft-spoken, and yeah, I think he probably thinks that he's going to get that sentence. And although he will appeal it, I've got a feeling that he feels that he won't win the case. I could be wrong, but that's how he comes across, as far as I'm concerned. Errol, Durban.
Okay, thanks for that, Errol. And here's another quick one about Malema.
Well, good afternoon, Ashraf. He has been found guilty, Malema, of what? There were apartheid people who were putting people into acid alive, being corroded by the acid. They were hanging people, saying, say good bye to your nation, we are going to hang you. Young ones, Solomon Majong, they were hanged publicly. Julius Malema, whom has he killed? They must sentence him. Stephen Deben.
Thanks for that, Stephen. But I mean, surely you separate the two. I know all about, that's why history is important, what happened before. But now you judge people in South Africa on the democratic values of this dispensation, not before, isn't it? Okay, hold on to that thought. We'll have more history on the National Pulse tomorrow from 3 to 6. Right now it's 6 o'clock. Here's Greg with the news.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Suspended Swani official grilled at the Madlanga Commission, and DA gears up for its